One of the first concepts every AWS beginner needs to understand is AWS Global Infrastructure. Because before you launch any service, you should know where your applications actually run. On a server, inside a building, in a city, or somewhere else entirely. Most people simply click Launch Instance without ever thinking about what happens behind the scenes. But in reality, AWS has built one of the largest cloud infrastructures in the world. And understanding how it's organized is one of the most important AWS concepts for every beginner. Let's start with the smallest building block, a data center. A data center is simply a physical building filled with thousands of servers. Inside, you'll find rows and rows of server racks, high-speed networking equipment, storage systems, power backup generators, industrial cooling systems, fire protection, physical security, everything needed to keep computers running 24 hours a day. Instead of keeping servers inside company offices, cloud providers build enormous data centers dedicated entirely to computing. Now here's something many beginners misunderstand. An availability zone is not just one server, and it's usually not even a single building. An availability zone consists of one or more data centers located close together. These data centers are connected using high-speed private fiber networks. At the same time, they have independent power, independent cooling, and independent networking. Why? Because if one data center experiences a problem, another one inside the same availability zone can continue operating. This design improves reliability. So, if an availability zone contains one or more data centers, what is a region? A region is a geographical location that contains multiple availability zones. Think of it like this: one city, multiple availability zones, and each availability zone contains one or more data centers. For example, Mumbai is an AWS region, Singapore is an AWS region, London, Tokyo, Frankfurt, Sydney are all AWS regions. As of 2026, AWS operates 39 regions and more than 120 availability zones across the world. Every region is isolated from every other region. This helps with disaster recovery, compliance, and fault isolation. So why doesn't AWS simply build one giant data center? Imagine your application is running in only one building. If a power failure, network issue, or natural disaster affects that building, your application could become unavailable. Instead, AWS recommends deploying applications across multiple availability zones. If one zone becomes unavailable, traffic automatically shifts to another healthy zone. This is called high availability, and it's one of the biggest advantages of cloud computing. Now, let's move outside regions. AWS also has something called Edge Locations. Unlike regions, Edge Locations are much smaller facilities placed much closer to users. Their primary purpose is speed. Imagine someone in Mumbai opens a website hosted in the Singapore region. Instead of downloading every image from Singapore every time, commonly accessed content can be stored temporarily at a nearby edge location. The next visitor receives that content from a much closer location. This reduces latency and makes websites feel much faster. There's one more piece of AWS infrastructure: local zones. A local zone is an extension of an AWS region placed much closer to large cities. Unlike edge locations, local zones can run AWS compute, storage, databases, and other services. They're designed for applications that require extremely low latency. For example, gaming, video editing, live streaming, media production, virtual desktops, or machine learning workloads. These applications cannot afford even a few extra milliseconds of delay. Local zones bring AWS services physically closer to users. So let's connect everything together. A data center is the physical building. One or more data centers form an availability zone. Multiple availability zones form an AWS region. Local zones extend AWS services closer to major cities, and edge locations bring content closer to end users for faster delivery. Each piece has a different purpose. Together, they create one of the largest cloud infrastructures ever built. AWS keeps expanding its infrastructure every year. New regions, availability zones, local zones, and edge locations are added regularly. So instead of memorizing the numbers, the best place to see the latest AWS infrastructure is the official AWS Global Infrastructure page. There, you can explore every region, availability zone, local zone, edge location, and upcoming AWS expansion around the world. And that's what AWS Global Infrastructure is all about.